Did you know that in 1692, something fascinating happened? The Salem witch trials took place in colonial Massachusetts, and they were a prime example of the shifting the burden of proof fallacy. Instead of requiring evidence to prove that someone was a witch, the accused were forced to prove their innocence, an impossible task. This tragic event led to the execution through hanging of many people and the imprisonment of many more. The shifting the burden of proof fallacy played a significant role in this dark chapter of history. The Salem witch trials began when a group of young girls in Salem Village started to exhibit strange and disturbing behaviors, such as fits, convulsions, and outbursts. They claimed that they were being tormented by invisible forces and accused several local women of bewitching them. The authorities, influenced by the Puritan belief in the devil and his agents, took their accusations seriously and arrested the alleged witches. The trials that followed were based on spectral evidence, that is, testimony that the accused had sent their spirits to harm the victims. This type of evidence was considered valid by the judges, even though it was impossible to verify or refute. The accused were expected to confess their guilt and name their accomplices, or face death by hanging. Many of them maintained their innocence until the end, but some gave in to the pressure and confessed to avoid execution. However, even those who confessed were not spared from punishment, as they were stripped of their property. The Salem witch trials were a clear case of shifting the burden of proof fallacy, as the accusers did not have to provide any concrete evidence for their claims, but relied on their own subjective and unreliable experiences. The accused, on the other hand, had to prove that they were not witches, which was impossible to do in a court that accepted spectral evidence as valid. The fallacy created a situation where anyone could be accused of witchcraft without any reason or proof, and where no one could defend themselves effectively. The fallacy also prevented any rational or critical examination of the accusations and the evidence, as anyone who questioned or doubted them was suspected of being a witch or a sympathizer. The fallacy fueled a climate of fear, hysteria, and injustice that resulted in the loss of many innocent lives. Hey rational rebels! Welcome to the arena of reason, the very place we train our minds to spot cognitive pitfalls. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning, where we strive for cognitive precision and free our minds from that mental prison. Today, we're exploring the burden of proof fallacy, a fallacy that occurs when someone makes a claim and then demands that others disprove it, shifting the responsibility of proof. We'll delve into the psychology behind this fallacy and how it can lead to unproductive debates and discussions. Before we delve into this intriguing topic, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our mind-strengthening content. If you find our podcast valuable, consider supporting us through PayPal using the link in the description. Your support helps us continue our mission of promoting rational thinking. Also, please share this episode with someone you know who might be interested in understanding the burden of proof fallacy. Supercharge your mind, hit subscribe, don't be left behind. Let's get started. Let's explore some studies on this topic. In a study published in the journal Cognitive Science, researchers found that people often shift the burden of proof when they are confronted with conflicting evidence. Another study in the British Journal of Social Psychology discovered that shifting the burden of proof fallacy is particularly prevalent in online discussions, where people tend to demand evidence from others while not providing any themselves. Here are some more real-world examples where the shifting the burden of proof fallacy is evident. 1. Psychic readings. People who claim to have psychic abilities may demand that skeptics prove that their abilities are not real, rather than providing evidence to support their claims. 2. Marketing claims. Advertisers may make unrealistic or exaggerated claims about the benefits of their products and demand that consumers prove that they are not effective, rather than providing evidence to support their claims. 3. Criminal trials. Defendants may try to shift the burden of proof by asking prosecutors to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, rather than providing evidence to support their own claims of innocence. 4. Fortune-telling. Individuals who claim to be able to predict the future may expect others to disprove their abilities, rather than providing evidence to support their claims. 5. Political debates. Politicians sometimes make accusations against their opponents and expect them to prove their innocence, rather than providing evidence to support the accusations. 6. Financial scams. Scammers who promote get-rich-quick schemes may ask investors to prove that their schemes are not legitimate, rather than providing verifiable evidence of their legitimacy. Now, let's examine some individual differences that may make people more susceptible to falling for the shifting the burden of proof fallacy. Here are 4 points. 1. Personality. People who are high in dogmatism, authoritarianism, or narcissism may be more likely to shift the burden of proof, because they may have a strong need to maintain their beliefs or authority, and may be unwilling to admit they are wrong or consider other perspectives. 2. Education. People who have a low level of education or literacy may be more likely to shift the burden of proof, because they may lack the skills or knowledge to evaluate evidence or arguments, and may rely on intuition or authority instead. 3. Motivation. People who have a high level of motivation to believe or achieve something may be more likely to shift the burden of proof, because they may be influenced by wishful thinking or self-serving bias, and may ignore or dismiss evidence that contradicts their goals or desires. 4. Emotion. People who are experiencing strong emotions, such as anger, fear, or sadness, may be more likely to shift the burden of proof, because they may be affected by emotional reasoning or hot cognition, and may have difficulty processing information objectively or rationally. To help you spot and avoid falling victim to the shifting the burden of proof fallacy, consider these tips. 1. Always be mindful of the burden of proof. In any debate or discussion, the person making a claim should provide evidence to support their argument. 2. Develop critical thinking skills. This will help you recognize when someone is shifting the burden of proof and allow you to respond effectively. 3. Be aware of your biases. If you have a strong emotional attachment to a belief, you may be more likely to commit the shifting the burden of proof fallacy or fall for it. Remember, the shifting the burden of proof fallacy is not only a deceptive tactic but can also have severe consequences for those on the receiving end. In the case of the Salem witch trials, this fallacy led to the loss of innocent lives. So, rational rebels, what are your thoughts on this fallacy? Have you or someone you know experienced a similar situation? Share your perspective with the community and in the comments below. Your support is incredibly valuable to us. If you can, please consider making a donation through the PayPal link in the description. Every contribution helps us continue creating content that promotes critical thinking. Thank you for being a part of our mission. Keep your mind sharp, raise your banner with a like, enlist and subscribe to become a rational rebel alike, avoiding all the pitfalls that may come your way. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning, signing off for today.